And this model, I want you to think of it as just like when you're driving, when you're on the road, there's this element of you can't predict the drivers on the road. You can't predict what's going on. I think most of us, as if you're driving, there's an autopilot that turns on. And so that's why they say that most accidents happen within like 5 miles of your home. But we know that I always like to put that imagination out there of like, well, imagine that you just rented a car and you're in a state that you've never been in. And for some reason, you couldn't take an Uber, you had to drive and it was raining and the road conditions were pretty bad. How would you be driving? Well, you'd probably do some version of 10 and 2 for us older folks and 9 and 3 for the youngins. But some version of this is how I drive. My back is straight. I'm checking my blind spot. I'm vigilant and I'm very intentional about what I'm doing. It takes more energy. I find that if, let's say you and I had a conflict or a debate, we may not even notice that it's a conflict because, we're getting along. It's not kicking up any dirt. It was a conversation, and what a fun conversation that was. And my brain is fired up. But a lot of times when I hear people say that they don't like conflict, it's because it feels like a fight. And when it's in that situation, then we can't really autopilot. And so this is what the map looks like. It always starts with the source of the conflict. It's the tangible thing. I don't like how you ran a meeting or whatever it might be. And then it filters through our brain. And the first stop is, am I safe? And so it actually looks at how defensive do I need to be in this situation? And at that point, I decide how much do I trust the scenario, that type of thing. And if there's a lot of trust, then I actually slip on over to objectivity, meaning my brain has the capacity to actually take in not just how I'm feeling about things, but also what you might be going through. I'm actually conscious about this is where people say assume good intent. I'm able to go, what could be your good intention, even if your delivery.
Or can I put myself in your shoes? What if I was to look at this through your lens? And how am I showing up for you in this conversation?
Yeah, am I showing up maybe different than how I normally show up because my emotional defense got put up there. But I'm able to sit back and look at it from that observational point. And then from there, go into, let's have a dialogue, let's figure out how to resolve this, let's move forward, and then we get a nice little resolution. This is the nice smooth thing. And what I like about this map is it tells you where you might be, and then you can decide, what do I need to do? Now, the reality is conflict doesn't happen in a straight line. It's always, it
always starts with me. See, I'm right underneath it.
Yeah.
And anybody in my family would agree with that.
Yeah. And I when I get brought in and we're doing like mediation with folks, they always want to talk about the source of the conflict. Oh, it's the fact that, they're not promoting me, or it's the fact that, they were dismissive in the meeting with me. And it's like, okay, but if someone else had done that, you might actually have a little bit more leeway for it. So we really spend time, first and foremost, are you aware when emotional defense gets triggered? And, do you know how to process that? Because the danger is when we ignore that, and we pretend like we're over in the strategic action.